If you haven't been watching TV, social media in the last 48 to 72 hours, you might have missed a thing or two. 100. It has been a frenzy right now happening in free agency right in front of our eyes. But there's also more that is happening right now that you may not even know about. And I'm not talking about NFL, I'm talking about college football, and I'm talking about Nick Saban. Yes, the Nick Saban, head coach for the Alabama Crimson Tide, who is now retired, is having a testimony in front of Congress right now in regards to NIL. We are going to play that video, and we are also going to break down that video because there are some very important things happening behind the curtains right now that is kind of being overshadowed because of free agency, which is not a bad thing, but free agency is as crazy as we have ever seen. And if you watched our show last night, we talked about how it is shaking the ground. Those are words from our very own Ed Smith here. But I am your host, Matthew Raridan, and this is Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Total Sports Talk Beyond the Lights. If you watched last night's episode, you will notice that we talked about free agency, and that was just our part one. Today is going to be our part two episode of everything that's breaking right now in the NFL, as most of these deals are now becoming official now that the tampering period is over. The new league is starting, and it's crazy. It's crazier than ever, guys. But first, we are going to talk about something else that's happening right now in the media, and it's something that's very important, something that needs to be talked about. You could even call it breaking news. But first, I want to introduce my co-host here today. We've got David Street.
What's up, y'all? And no, I did not get in a fight. If you see the scratch on my face, sometimes you just scratch yourself and you discover that you have cat claws out of nowhere.
Yeah. I'll choose to believe you. But we also have got Ed Smith.
Welcome, y'all.
And guys, just like I was talking about, there is, some news happening right now in regards to Nick Saban and what's happening right now in front of Congress. And it's a very important, I think, topic of discussion that does need to be talked about. He is bringing it more to light. This is more for people to see. We are going to break this down a little bit more, but first, I want the audience to watch this just brief video of Nick Saban and just some of his words and what he has said in Congress. And then we're going to break down more in our thoughts on this video and pretty much what he is trying to do with Congress. So, without further ado, I'm going to play this video here.
All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this?
So yeah, that is the video right there of Nick Saban in his own words talking about the interactions that, he was getting here towards the end of his career. Pretty much what was happening. He has made it clear that his retirement has pretty much mainly was because of NIL. And NIL, if you don't know, is name, image, and likeness. And it has taken over college football right now for good and for bad. Both can be true. But this is a big story because Nick Saban is going to go down as one of the best coaches of all time at the college football level. He has accomplished so much, and he was always known as being the master recruiter. This guy knew how to recruit. He knew to kind of get at it such a personal level and to really let these young men know that he wants nothing but the best for them. Yes, winning championships is awesome and it is a goal of theirs which they share, but it's also creating, men. And Deion Sanders famously said that this last year too, of wanting to create men, not football players, but men. And uh, but then you think of Dion and you think of, I'm gonna bring my Louis, I'm gonna bring that luggage, that money, and it's kind of both about money and about creating men. And Nick Saban, right there, he mentioned that his wife saying, well, why are we doing this? They're only interested in the money, not necessarily their growth and development as men. So, Ed, I'm gonna turn to you really quick and your thoughts on this video and everything that Nick Saban is really trying to uh, accomplish in Congress.
Well, as we tend to say to each other uh, in several different meanings, two things can be true at once. And one thing that is true is there are guardrails that need to be put on NIL for the players because it's the Wild West. The NCAA just threw their hands up and said, "Oh, just do whatever you want as far as NIL and have at it." But the flip side of it is having those guardrails just not be there at all. The whole thing is just falling over the sides. There's so many of these kids that want to get a large share of the pie, but there's only so much pie to be had when they're trying to talk about getting name, image, and likeness from these collectives that the schools are paying these kids, not separate business transactions that they have with whatever company that they're talking with. Like Caleb Williams having the Dr. Pepper commercial, that's a separate thing. He can make that money and nobody's going to say a word. But when recruits are coming to the schools on their official visits and basically with their hand out and saying, "I will only come here when you sign the biggest check possible for me to come here," that's a problem. Now, there has been a lot of pushback from the from those that are opposing Nick Saban, saying that he's a hypocrite for having all these multi-million-dollar houses on lakes in Alabama, off the coast, all these different things. Well, he's earned that. He has been the best college coach that we've ever seen, and the schools know that it's him that is running that particular entity, so they have to pay him as such. That has nothing to do with the players individually. Yes, players should be paid. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. They should be paid. But to come in and say that they need to be paid just as much or more than what NFL players are getting, that is not sustainable. And college football is going to suffer from it here shortly, even though it is the best it's ever been at this point in time.
Well, sorry. Yeah, I mean, listen, say whatever you want about Saban, but he's exactly right. Generally speaking, it used to be that players cared more about getting developed by the coaches that recruited them. And nowadays, they just care about if they're going to, get a big fat bag, right? And you have to ask yourselves, with the way that college football in general, with the way that football is going at this point, why even have the NFL? I mean, you might as well just have one huge football league with 3 tiers. High school football, since NIL seems to be a thing in high school now, or at least it's going to be a thing. High school football, college football, professional football. 3 tiers, all under, one big league. Because at this point, that's the rate we're going now at this point, since everybody's getting paid now and everybody wants to get paid.
Yeah, Ed, when you were talking, it just really reminded me of one of the most famous scenes in Hollywood movies, and that's none other than Jerry Maguire. Jerry, I want to hear you say it. Come on, just say it. Show me the money. Show me the money. And that's what it's like. Every recruit, every official visit you hear is show me the money. And that's really what's happening. There needs to be guardrails, just like you said, and they do, deserve to get paid. But there needs to be guardrails. There needs to be a happy medium. And that's the issue, is that they didn't think or plan this out when they just rolled out with it, and now you are seeing the repercussions because of it, and something needs to give. And I think it's only perfect, in my opinion, the irony of what we are seeing in the NFL with free agency right now, the frenzy, and then seeing Nick Saban in Congress right now, because although they are two different levels, there is a lot of parallels there, where the NFL does have, their tampering period and all that. But do you not see how many transactions happen within the first 24 hours? It was insane. And that's how it is with college football too. But the NFL, it was these players, they're going wherever they're getting the money thrown. And David, you pretty much almost hit the nail on the coffin of what recruiters wanted before, is they wanted to play for something bigger than just money. Not too long ago, and yes, still a lot of people are like this now, is I want to win a championship. I want a ring, all that. It's not about the money. That's how it used to be. Now it's who's going to offer me the most money. Why are you going to Colorado? You know damn well they ain't going to win a championship, but you're going there. Why? Because money talks. Show me the
Mm-hmm.
money. And that's
Exactly.
exactly what's happening right now.
Also, for what it's
And not to mention, this is just the tip of the spear about this conversation. This is a conversation that goes well beyond just how much are the players getting paid, how much are the coaches getting paid. This goes all the way down to the student body. This goes down to the entire athletics department. University of Alabama doesn't just have a football team. They have everything all the way down to, if I remember correctly, I've seen scores from like women's lacrosse. That who pays for those sports? Football does. So that's a large rabbit hole to go down that I don't think we have time for today. But I am certainly with you that yes, the guardrails do need to be in place. The kids are coming in with the idea of let me play for the money when they used to. In fact, the old joke is, remember when college football champions were decided before the bowl games? Pepperidge Farms remembers. That's how I feel about the evolution of this whole thing. Is it has gotten way too big, way too fast. And I'm sorry, David, I did not mean to jump in over you, but I really wanted to make sure that we were understanding that this is a much larger discussion than what we have slated for tonight.
For what it's worth, also, Coach Saban never once said that he was against college football players being paid. In fact, he made very clear that they should get paid through NIL, and people are just deliberately ignoring that, and that just seems kind of dishonest to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of people are blinded because social media, the internet never lies.
They just hate Saban. Like, we all know, if Coach, I don't know, Mark Stoops, just to give a random name. We all know the point is, if any other coach beside Saban said all that, people would be like, "Oh, you make a good point." But because it's Saban, people have to find a way to hate, and they have to. They feel like it's almost like they're programmed to just disagree with whatever Saban says, even if he makes a very, very good point.
And somebody that I spoke with years ago, this was a conversation I had probably 15, 20 years ago. I was speaking with somebody, and they said that they enjoyed the NFL more than college because in college, you basically have professional players playing high school players. There's such a difference in skill set, such a wide chasm between skill set when you're talking about college players and college teams that it it is difficult for my friend that said this for him to watch college because of such a wide chasm. It's such a different thing. Whereas in the NFL, you're talking the top 1% of 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't as much, you know, as wide a margin between the different skill sets of the different players that are at that level.
True. I mean, and I think your friend makes a good point. I mean, for the best college football teams, the average margin of score is usually like 45-17, 48-19, just something like that. And obviously, you're never going to see that in the NFL. Like even the best teams in the NFL, they don't have scoring margins that crazy.
Unless you're the Broncos against the Dolphins, but that's different. That was an anomaly, right? But
Yeah.
speaking of the NFL, I think it's only fitting that we jump into these free agency acquisitions in the NFL because they are happening as we speak. I'm sure my phone's probably blowing up on someone else that just got signed because it is happening almost every minute. But I want to start first with yesterday. We did go over several teams. We even talked about our teams from the Bucks to Green Bay to my Steelers. Well, let's stay in the AFC North and talk about the Baltimore Ravens. And they had one of the biggest pickups in free agency, and that was Derrick Henry signing with the Baltimore Ravens.
And and it quite literally was a big pickup, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. It's like these guys, they just seem to always have a Heisman Trophy winner just kind of fall in their lap. And Derrick Henry is a very successful Heisman Trophy winner, and that guy is he's a man among boys when he's out on that field. And this was a good pickup for the Ravens. As much as I hate to say it, because I am a Steelers fan, this was a great pickup for them because this adds that threat in the backfield that whose name is not Lamar Jackson. The Ravens have just been plagued with injuries at that position, so hopefully that is not a real curse for Derrick Henry's sake, because it seems like that tends to be their Achilles heel, no pun intended. But uh, Derrick Henry is a great pickup for them. It's really going to even things out, and he's a big back. I mentioned earlier on a show, remind me of like Jamal Lewis when the Ravens had Jamal Lewis. You had Ray Lewis on defense. They were just so balanced that team was, and now having Derrick Henry there, this just balances the Ravens out even more, and that's scary for the AFC. And they re-signed Justin Matabuke to a contract, and that was a big deal because it's for them. They were trying to get as much as they can of the band back together on defense, and bringing him back was such a key addition. So they you're still going to be pretty sharp on defense, especially when you got Roquan Smith. A healthy Roquan Smith is the best in the NFL, and Ravens just got better as far as those go. But the Texans, let's talk about the AFC South. The Texans were one of the most surprising teams in the NFL last year, and they had a lot of money to spend this year. And I was a little shocked at first because, guys, they didn't sign any of these big running backs like we thought they would. We talked about it on last week's show of
Hey,
maybe
they got Damian Pierce, baby. Okay, don't you forget about that.
my bad. I forgot about him, but we thought maybe Saquon Barkley was possibly going to go there because why would you not want to join this young franchise? They are showing so much promise in their future and they had money to spend. It's like that seemed like a no brainer, but Saquon, he saw things better elsewhere, and that's good for him. But the Texans did trade for Joe Mixon. He's not a big time running back, so I'm a little iffy about it. But they did need a running back. That just happened to be who they got. So pretty weak on that pick. But Danielle Hunter. They got him from the Vikings. This was a 2-year, $49 million deal, and this was a great deal, guys. I know they're paying him a lot of money there, but Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, how do you guys feel about that combo?
I think it was basically a trade because the Vikings picked up the free agent from the Texans, as basically back and forth. So to me, it's a wash. It was a trade overall. Just to hit a point on the Ravens, since we got through that.
Yeah.
This signing of Derrick Henry isn't about them winning regular season games. They can win regular season games. They have proven to be able to win regular season games. This is a signing to be able to carry the team down the stretch, second half of a playoff game to win. This is not about how well Lamar can push make all these throws and be this electric dynamic guy. No, this is about milking the clock when you have the lead in the second half of the playoffs, because they've already proven that they can win in the regular season. They've already proven that Lamar can do that. What Lamar has not been able to prove is that he can carry the whole team on his back through the second half of a game and not lose, and be able to push forward to the third round of the playoffs. They've gotten to the second. They need to get to the third. Lamar needs to prove that point before anybody really believes that he is the elite of elite quarterbacks in this league.
Well, my thoughts are, one, when it comes to Danielle Hunter, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like we're seeing a lot of cases where players have their best year, or they have, they just had a really good year in general, and then they just go to another team. Obviously, I totally understand the concept of performing your best during the last year of your contract. You're essentially your prove it year, so I get that. But to me, it feels like we're seeing a lot of cases where players had their best years and their now former teams didn't even. I don't want to say they didn't try to bring them back, but the point is that they didn't bring them back. And then when it comes to Derrick Henry and the Ravens, listen, the only thing I want to know about Derrick Henry and the Ravens, when it comes to Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, is what are the carries going to look like? What are the splits going to look like there?
Yeah, I mean, they could be fighting a little bit more for who gets more of the carries, but I think this should take a load off Lamar's back to where he doesn't feel like he needs to run it as more. He could still be a smart runner and know when he needs to run it, but when you got a guy like Derrick Henry back there who's going to pick up that workload, take it. Take that, that opportunity and allow that to happen, because Derrick Henry is more than willing to run that ball 30 times a game. He showed it plenty of times with Tennessee, but at the same time, that he's all Tennessee pretty much had, so they kind of had to give him the ball. They wanted a chance to win the game, but this does mark a very important acquisition for the Ravens. And as far as Danielle Hunter goes and Will Anderson, we live in the day of age of the defensive ends, the outside linebackers, the edge rushers is humongous in the NFL, and everyone wants to pretty much throw the money towards these guys, hoping that they can replicate the TJ Watts, the Myles Garretts, the Max Crosby's, hoping they have that next big thing. And that's similar to probably what we saw with the Texans and Danielle Hunter to go along the likes of Will Anderson.
Well, the NFL is cyclical, and the best position to be in right now is on the defensive line or an edge rusher when it comes to being the guy on defense. It wasn't that long ago that Revis Island and those lockdown corners were the highest paid defensive players on the team. Now it's the defensive line and the edge rushers. So it is cyclical. We're just in that portion of the cycle right now. As far as the running back situation for the Texans, I am scratching my head for the past 2 days trying to figure out what they are thinking. They've got money. They've had the opportunity to go get Derrick Henry. They've had the opportunity to get Saquon Barkley. They've had an opportunity to get Aaron Jones. They've had an opportunity to go get Tony Pollard. Now, granted, I think Tony Pollard's a step down, but that's still an improvement from what they had with Devin Singletary. So, as far in a explosive idea, so
I
I don't know how Joe Mixon fixes this.
I am also like, a little weary about taking any running back from the Cowboys, because when it comes to the Cowboys, it's like, well, were you really that good, or were you just a product of your offensive line? Because we saw it with DeMarco Murray, we saw it with Ezekiel Elliott, and that's not a knock. I'm not trying to knock on the players. That's more about just how insanely good Dallas's offensive line is. But now without that offensive line, it's like, how good are you?
Yeah, I
And
see.
that's definitely a fair point for that. But when looking at what the Texans need, it's exactly what the Ravens signed Derrick Henry to do. There's the ball is in the air way too much for a second year quarterback. So you've got to have somebody that can tote the rock and take down the clock so you mitigate your chances of losing those leads late in ball games.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a big loss in their area because they need a running back. It was obvious as can be. And this isn't that heavy of a running back class coming in from the draft as well. I mean, you're not seeing a guy that's an obvious first round pick like when Saquon Barkley came to the NFL. You're not seeing those in this draft. So it does make you want to scratch your head like, what were they thinking? I mean, this was a big free agency running back class, but not from the draft standpoint. So the fact that all they walked away with is Joe Mixon is very shocking. And same with the Bears. Yes, they got DeAndre Swift, but that was the best you could get. Maybe no one really wanted to sign with them. It is the Bears after all, but still, the Texans are a promising franchise, and the fact that that's all they came away with is really shocking. So, a little upset with that because I have high hopes for the Texans, and I want to see C.J. Stroud succeed in the NFL. And the only way he's going to be able to do that is if he could balance it out by having give the ball to the running back instead of throwing the ball constantly. He's going to end up getting hurt. But they did pick up Danico Autry from the Titans for a 2-year, $20 million deal. But speaking of the Titans, I want to talk about them. They just signed one of the best free agents out there. You may know him from Oklahoma State University, none other than Mason Rudolph. I mean, guys, I think the Titans, their stock just surged. I mean, I'm talking Super Bowl bound. 2050 maybe is the year they may make it, but
Okay, you can draw a charade now, Matthew.
yeah, Mason Rudolph. That's they did sign him, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk more about Tony Pollard, who they did bring over for the running back position. He has big shoes to fill with, Derrick Henry leaving. And just like David said, is he going to be a great product that comes from Dallas, or is he great because of the product from the offensive line in Dallas? We will find that out, once the season starts. But Tony Pollard, that's a decent pickup for them in the backfield. And then not too long ago, breaking news with Calvin Ridley getting a massive 4-year, $92 million contract to be their wide receiver along DeAndre Hopkins. And D-Hop is a great mentor, I feel like, for Calvin Ridley, very similar in size. They've got that catch radius, they've got that speed, and that is great to be along the likes of him. But that big of a contract, a little eerie about that, just because I don't think he's fully proven himself in the NFL. But we know he's got the talent. But hopefully they have a quarterback there that could actually throw him the ball. What do you guys feel about those pickups?
Well, how much do you want to bet that Calvin Ridley said bet when the Titans presented him with that contract?
I mean, he didn't even have to say, "Show me the money." They probably just threw it to him.
Right. Listen, I don't want to take credit for that joke. I saw it somewhere on Twitter, so shout out to whoever said that. But that's really good right there.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, he wanted to stay where he was. He really did. And they were trying to work that out. But when 50 million guaranteed comes a calling, you answer the door. It's simple as that. And then with D Hop and Calvin Ridley, they really kind of put together, I would consider like a Diet Coke of evil type of offensive weaponry here with Mason Rudolph and Prince Pollard. I mean, we had King Henry, now we have Prince Pollard. That's all I'm saying. That.
Yeah.
So they've got some skill positions. It's going to be a matter of, will they be able to hold up on the offensive line to keep Mason Rudolph upright, or whoever they bring in otherwise for Mason Rudolph? Because Ryan Tannehill is on the market, but nobody's really biting there. And I think we all know why. He is not good. So, and you've also got Will Levis there. So I don't think Mason Rudolph is going to really push the envelope as far as a starting job. So if you really look at this, Levis, Pollard, Ridley, and D Hop, it's okay. It's a decent collection, but there's nothing behind it, and it's a matter of, will the offensive line be able to hold up offensively with this group that they're bringing in?
Well, and also when it comes to the Jaguars, I mean, obviously it sucks that they lost Ridley, and I have seen some people ripping on the Jags, but let's be honest with ourselves. Would you really give that kind of money to a 29-year-old? I mean, if you say yes, then you might need to be put in a mental ward if you're going to give that much money to a 29-year-old.
I'm sure Tyreek Hill got that money, but he backed it up for a while, so it was kind of well deserved for something like that. But I mean, Jamar Chase is probably about to get times to that, and he's younger than 20.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is like what, 24? I think 23 or 24.
So Justin Jefferson's gonna be in the same boat.
Yep.
So I mean,
who turned down a massive contract from the Vikings?
That's because he don't.
Dude, is Justin Jefferson best friends with Kirk Cousins? Because it certainly seems like he is.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that at all. Not at all. Not for the crap that he's talked about him in the press as far as being a mid quarterback.
Oh,
which us as fans have called Kirk Cousins mid. So, but to have his wide receiver call him that while he's on the team, that's gonna. I don't know about that one.
Okay, I retract my statement then.
But the notes that I'm seeing so far online discussion wise is Rudolph and Willis. Don't forget about Malik Willis on the Titans. They're battling out for the backup spot, which tells me if they're battling for the backup, then Will Levis is their guy. So they're giving him a chance still. I mean, it is going to be a second year, so we'll see what he can do. But I mean, they do got some key, additions now. But 50 million guarantee for Calvin Ridley, that's a lot of gambling money right there, if you ask me. But gamble responsible, people. But Jaguars, I want to just talk about them really quick. They really, I think, failed a lot for their franchise this free agency. They did get Mitch Morse, center from the Bills, which was a great pickup. They started off on the right foot. Then they got Gabe Davis, so maybe they're trying to turn into the Buffalo Bills. I don't know, but that's pretty much it right there. That's where it kind of stopped. From there, they lost Calvin Ridley in free agency. But by doing so, it was a double whammy because they now owe the Atlanta Falcons their third pick in the draft, so their third round pick. And that's a precious pick. This isn't like your seventh round. This is a third round pick, and this draft is deep. So losing this draft is big, and so they lost that. They've lost Calvin Ridley. They brought in Mac Jones, woohoo, hometown kid. Let's bring him over to ride the bench for Trevor Lawrence. That's still not going to help. I feel like the Jaguars didn't really get better at all, and I feel like they could have gotten better. I think the only position that they got better at was their center position. So Jaguars, I
Mm.
really feel like just kind of bit the bullet a little bit and did not exceed expectations going into this free agency.
I think the Jags certainly have been a very disappointing team. I still don't blame them for not wanting to sign Calvin Ridley to that kind of money. But I think you're spot on with everything else you said, Matthew. And as I said, they're just, you could argue overall that they're the most disappointing team because last year they had a lot of hype. They were, I think, 8-3 at one point on top of the AFC South, and then they just totally collapse and end up losing to the lowly Tennessee Titans. And now they're just, listen. Will the Jaguars have a bad season? No, I don't. I don't think they will. But they certainly are not inspiring a ton of confidence heading into the season.
Well, I want to say really quick, it was around like week 11 or so, week 11, week 12 last year, where the Jags and the Eagles were both number one in the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah,
And Jags didn't make the playoffs. Eagles barely made the playoffs, and they lost to the Bucks in the first round. So I mean, that's how quick things change for their seasons.
yeah.
And Jaguars surely aren't helping their case.
Well, and one thing I want to point out about the Mac Jones bringing him in is his numbers from Trevor Lawrence's in the league not very different. You know, Trevor Lawrence was brought in to be sunshine. He was going to be the best quarterback we've ever seen, which that's going to be Caleb Williams this year. You know, all these every year, it's the best quarterback prospect we've ever seen coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
And Trevor Lawrence he's been good. He hasn't been great. And there's the distinction there. Mac Jones was supposed to be great for the Patriots, which coming off of Tom Brady, you never want to be the guy following the guy.
He
And
had
that's
he
really
had a
what
decent he had a decent rookie year if I remember correctly.
he did have a decent rookie year. He was a Pro Bowler that year. One thing I want to point out though is the head coach, Doug Peterson. This is a coach that took two fairly level quarterbacks and went to the Super Bowl with them and had the backup win the Super Bowl with creative play calling, as well as being able to manage that roster when things don't go right. And that is a huge part of this that the Jaguars, they're not going to get credit for it in free agency, but that doesn't mean that we stick the nail in the coffin for them.
Mm.
Man, I totally forgot about Carson Wentz. Like, where is he at? Is he on a UFL
Dude,
team?
he was arguably a top 3, top 5 quarterback for a couple of years, and he was going to win the MVP in 2017 until he got injured late in the season.
Yeah, I mean that was crazy, and then that's when they went to the Super Bowl and they won without him. But gosh, that guy fell off fast. I totally forgot about him. But yeah,
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this is a guy who never lost in high school. He was just a winner. He was winning all throughout college. Yes, he did lose, to Ohio State, and he suffered his first loss. But that
he also
humble.
lost to LSU. Don't forget that.
Yep, and then yeah, first number one in the championship game. So I mean, he he lost, but then they're like, well, this guy still wins. He does. So let's bring him, to the NFL. He'll surely be a winner here, and he still can be. He's still young. It's not like he's looking for a team like Carson Wentz is right now, but he still is going to be their starting quarterback, and he still is talented. It's just those expectations for him have yet to be met. But earlier, Ed, you said being that guy after the guy. And well, there's also another guy in New England that is, well, replacing the guy, and that is Gerard Mayo, first year head coach. This is his first off season now for the Patriots as head coach. And what have they done in free agency? Very minimal. They brought back Jacoby Brissett, who was their third string quarterback just several years ago, and He's been a very solid quarterback, I'd say, at least a filler quarterback. What he did with the Browns was great. I think Jacoby Brissett can be a pretty decent guy to be your backup quarterback or your filling quarterback. He has shown that. So they brought him back for a 1-year deal, 8 million. And then Michael Onwenu, they re-signed him for a 3-year deal, 57 million. I mean, that was actually a pretty big deal. They made it a point of wanting to bring him back from the get-go, and they got exactly that. And then Jalen Rager, gosh, talk about a guy who did fall off as well coming out of college. He was expected to be this next, big receiver. That did not really play out, but the Patriots re-signed him. It's been really quiet over there. But as we know, when Bill Belichick was there, they don't make a whole lot of big splashes come free
Mm-hmm.
agency. So
Right.
maybe a whole lot hasn't really changed. It's almost like Bill Belichick's still there. What do you guys feel
Yeah.
on the Patriots situation?
I mean, nothing's really changed.
The Jacoby Brissett signing tells me that they are going after Jaden Daniels.
Oh,
That is
absolutely.
that's 100% what that tells me, because that's a somewhat similar skill set. Although Jaden Daniels has shown bigger flashes of being more athletic than Jacoby, so I expect Jacoby to be able to be that mentor guy for Jaden Daniels. Maybe have that Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes vibe to it for at least the first year before the claws come out trying to get Jaden on the field, because Jaden's really going to have to learn how to play at this level with his frame and not get hit, not get
What?
hurt,
What?
because
What?
he is. I think, Matthew, I think you're bigger than him. That he is of a slight build compared to the players that are going to be around him. In fact, even Bryce Young is bigger than Jaden Daniels. So
What?
that's a concern.
What pick do the Patriots have in the first round?
Third.
3.
Jaden Daniels being a top 3 pick. Okay.
It's gonna happen. It is. I'm just gonna say it here. Jaden Daniels will go to the Patriots. And it's gonna be different. It's gonna be a different thing in New England. You're not used to seeing a quarterback like that there. You're used to seeing that pocket passer with Tom Brady. Now you got Jaden Daniels, but he's not no slouch. That guy can throw the ball, and they're gonna have to tell him you're gonna need to do a little bit more than that, because this is the NFL. This is a different organization. This is not college where you could go running around. You
Hmm.
get hit in the NFL, you get hurt like that. So, but having Jacoby Brissett there, I think that's a great pickup for as a mentor.
Well, for what it's worth, the Patriots could have had a Jaden Daniels like quarterback when they got Cam Newton. Too bad they got the absolute worst version of Cam Newton, though.
Is this the Cam Newton that backed up Tebow or in Florida or?
I think it was that version of Cam Newton. Yes.
And once again, not to belabor the point on the athleticism of Jaden Daniels, is if you throw that athletic guy without a tough enough build to withstand the hits that he's going to take, you wind up getting an RG3 situation, which led to the rise of Kirk Cousins, by the way.
Well, I totally forgot about that.
It really did over in
Yeah.
Washington. So, but I mean, it did suck seeing that with RG3, especially seeing him come out of college. It was the last thing you wanted to see for a guy like that. But it happens in the NFL, and that is a great example that Jaden Daniels needs to keep an eye out on. But the Giants, they did lose Saquon Barkley in free agency. That is a big loss, and they did try to bring in a running back, and they did with Devin Singletary, who they got from the Texans, 3-year, $16 million deal. I don't understand really the direction the Giants are really heading in. They got Drew Lock from the Seahawks for a 1-year, $5 million deal. One of their bigger pickups though was Brian Burns in a trade from Carolina, 5 years, $150 million deal. And guys, the Panthers are pissed about this. Their fan base is so upset about how this played out. the Giants did get a pretty good steal there. But on the offensive side, guys, where are you seeing the Giants head? Because I'm seeing a whole lot of rumors about J.J. McCarthy going there, but Daniel Jones has a $40 million deal this year, and they're already talking about a different quarterback this year. I don't know what they're doing over there in the Meadowlands.
Well, Daniel Jones's best year so far in his career wasn't even that good, right? And you're just going to give him $40 million just like that.
Well, when they signed him, it was based on the anomaly year of Daniel Jones's career so far, in that he did not spend significant time hurt and not playing. So
Right.
he goes through 1 year, which he plays an entire season, and that's when they decide to drop a bag on him. And the funniest part to me when they signed him is, oh, if this doesn't work out, it won't take very long to rebuild after him. So you're expecting this not to work out? How is that a thing? How do you make these deals expecting it to be for him to be the guy, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be the guy. That's not how this is supposed to work. Now
Right.
with Drew Lock, that's an insurance policy more than anything else, because they're expecting Daniel Jones to get hurt. They're expecting to be able to draft a quarterback. In my estimation, I don't understand them wanting to get a quarterback in the first round when they could wait till the second round and pick up somebody like Michael Pratt out of Tulane.
Or Tulane, yeah.
That's who I would target in that situation, because you have other needs on offense than just quarterback at this point. You've got needs across the board, which is why you're selecting sixth. So come on, do something better than that. But that's just one man's opinion. I'm sorry.
And as for listen, to the Panthers fans out there, specifically the ones that are 21 and older, listen, I know life is rough as a Panthers fan right now, but just drink some cold beer, because beer will not break your heart. Shout out to the ones who get what I'm referencing.
Now, I will say to the Panthers fans, they have had terrible seasons before where they went 1-15, and within 3 to 4 years they were in the Super Bowl. This kind of turnaround has happened before in that franchise. So don't lose faith yet.
That is true, Ed, but it should also be worth noting that Jerry Richardson was the owner, and as a Panthers fan, at least you always felt like you had some sort of stability under that previous ownership. There is absolutely no stability under David Tepper so far, and he has not given Panthers fans any reason to think that there will be any stability.
Why do you got to rain on him? Why do you got to rain on all the Panthers fans out there?
Hey, listen, okay, we're friends with the Panthers fan, and I'm pretty sure he would agree with every word I said.
Most likely. But, with the Giants, it's like having buyer's remorse. They have buyer's remorse with Daniel Jones, and they're trying to convince themselves, and that's exactly what they did about, we'll be able to replace it and rebuild just like that. They're really trying to convince themselves. But, don't forget, in the later rounds, Spencer Rattler is a guy to keep an eye out on. It seems like people are kind of high on him as being a solid late round draft pick who could possibly have some upside in the NFL. So the Giants, although they still probably will draft J.J. McCarthy with their number 6 pick, there is a lot of other options out there that they could get before that. So, but we'll see what they do.
Did you guys see? I'm having a major brain fart because I can't remember the name of the event, but whatever that event is, where quarterbacks show off their throwing skills. JJ McCarthy cannot throw at all. Like, he cannot throw a football to save his life.
At the combine or pro day?
I don't even remember. I probably should remember. But what I do remember is that whatever I saw, he was overthrowing left and right. He was missing on most of his targets, if not all of them.
Well, that's because Jim Harbaugh taught him how to throw the check down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Fair.
it is true, but it's crazy because I was seeing videos similar to that at the combine, but everything that was coming out of the combine was such positive things with JJ McCarthy. It seemed like his draft stock soared very high, and even though his performance didn't really show for it, there was something about him that teams really liked. So I mean, that's something to keep an eye on to see if it really is that good come draft day. But sticking over in the NFC, the Washington Commanders picking up Mariota, my Oregon alumni, for a 1-year deal. Picked up Zach Ertz, pretty washed up there. Austin Eckler, that 2-year, $11 million deal. I think that's pretty fair because Austin Eckler is a running back who, although spends a lot of time on the IR being injured, when he's healthy, he's a pretty good running back to have on your end because that guy can catch balls out of the backfield and he can run it down your throat at the same time. So I think that's a pretty good steal there with a 2-year, $11 million deal. And then Bobby Wagner, that was actually a big shocker seeing him go there. I thought for sure he'd maybe just sign maybe one more year with Seattle and then call it quits, or that did not happen. He did go to Washington to help their defense out there. Bobby Wagner still has it. He is still a great inside linebacker.
Well, remember, Bobby Wagner was with Dan Quinn a decade ago, but he definitely knows the defense inside and out. And Dan Quinn needs a leader. He needs somebody to come into that locker room and be a stalwart for the locker room. This isn't necessarily him being one of the best players in the league, which he's still a great linebacker. But I think he needs him more for his experience, his locker room building to get that team together, because quite honestly, the organization has been a train wreck and that's what they're trying to fix. So how do you do that with the players? You get somebody that everybody respects and everybody can get behind when they say it's time to go.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner may not be the best linebacker anymore, but he is still a damn good linebacker. And to me, like the only linebackers in the league right now I can think of that have completely aged like fine wine are Wagner and Levante David. They get older, and sure, they're no longer the best at what they do, but they're still reliable and they're still really, really good at what they do.
Well, Bobby Wagner is still up there with top tackles in the NFL last year. Like Ed said, he brings that presence of a leader. He's, will most likely be their signal caller out there on defense, and that's what they need. They need someone like that who knows what they're doing out there, and he could be a great mentor and shadow whoever's going to be falling in right after him. So reuniting with Dan Quinn, very well could be exactly why he went there. Interested to see what first year head coach Dan Quinn does in Washington. They hold the number 2 pick. They've made it clear they want Caleb, but they've also made it clear that they're willing to trade. I don't know what reverse psychology they're doing, but it's messing with me. I'm like, all right, who do you want? Caleb's gonna be number 1, but you're willing to trade back. What do you want? So I'm not really sure what they want there, but they're messing with people like me. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, you're reminding me of a famous movie scene from The Notebook. What do you want? What?
Yes. I don't know. Same thing with the Bears. I don't know.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let me tell you, it is. But for them, it may not be. But there is still a lot of top free agents out there that will surely find a home if they have not already while we have filmed our show. But I want to talk about just a topic that's happening right now within free agency that you're probably seeing. You see it every year, but you probably don't know what it means. And it's the term restructuring. You're seeing players like Josh Allen just restructure their contract. Jalen Ramsey restructured his contract to clear up cap space. And you're like, what does that mean? Because on the surface, you may think, oh, they're being nice. They're taking a pay cut. They're really helping out the team. That they're awesome. No, that's not exactly what it is. Yes, they're helping out the team, but the team's helping them out even more by giving them what? An advance in their paycheck. How would you like having a full year salary pretty much up front? You don't have to work for it. We're just going to give it to you in the form of a signing bonus. So literally what it's doing is, I'll give you an example. Jalen Ramsey cleared $19.9 million in cap space because they restructured his contract. In reality is they gave him his salary that was on the books. They took it off by transferring it over to a signing bonus or some type of bonus to then clear that out to clear up space so their team could either, be within the cap tolerance, or they could then have more money to give someone else come free agency. Because as you know, right now we have teams like the Chargers who need to clear as much as they can because they were way over the limit, and they cut Mike Williams. That happened today. That helped clear up space for them. They also restructured Khalil Mack's contract, which, like I just said, they gave him some money up front. They cleared the books a little bit more for this upcoming year. So you're going to see that term happen a lot, especially around this time of the year, because teams are either needing to clear space or they're needing to clear space to add players in free agency. So Patrick Mahomes did clear up a lot of space for the Kansas City Chiefs, which left a lot of speculation of what kind of move are the Chiefs making. I've heard some crazy rumors out there, but that's why they're called rumors. But all I'm saying is that I've heard two homes right now that Justin Jefferson could be in, and that is with the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's with the Kansas City Chiefs. Will that happen? I don't know. The latest thing is the Vikings say they aren't going to trade him, but I've heard that before. I've heard that plenty of times. We will not trade him. And then you get the call, how much money? How many picks? We'll pack his bags for him. He's already on his way. So it can happen if the number is right. Show me the money, okay? But that's really what restructuring is. Ed, do you have anything that you want to add on that?
When you're talking about the restructuring portion of it, there's so much ebb and flow when it comes to the salary cap that virtually the salary cap is kind of a made up thing, because they can change numbers and flip and flop and do all these things. They just need the players signed on the dotted line, and that's the end of it. But when you're talking about how much is going toward the cap, that is something that is you have to look at when you are looking at these free agents and how many free agents that you can sign. Sure, as I just said, the cap number is kind of an imaginary number, but it's something that has to be in place. Otherwise, you're going to get teams like you have in baseball, that everybody is just on one team. And you look at the Dodgers; they just spent $1 billion this offseason. So, what the NFL does not want to have happen is that they had that before, so they went to this, so there could be parity, there could be more of us fans really rooting for our teams, because it's a more even playing field across the board. And the restructuring, that's just a part of the games that the front office can play, which I love those games. But that is a totally different episode or conversation to be having. The restructuring that you'll see most often is from those bigger players that are willing to sacrifice a little bit for the long-term game of their team. And this go around here, the Patrick Mahomes one, that is 100% about them trying to get a three-peat.
Exactly. And Ed, you said it wrong. It's $1 billion the Dodgers spent. Yes. So to still not win the World Series. But yes, restructuring, that is a topic that we could talk more about, of more of the behind the scenes that happen in the front offices with these franchises. kind of scary, you know, the more and more you start looking more into it, how it's like sleight of eye almost, but um, it's a strategy nonetheless, and it's a strategy that pays off. And yes, the Chiefs, as far as what I've heard, are trying to go all in on this three-peat because why not? I mean, you hear of the greats, the Jordans, the three-peats, and how big they are. And Mahomes is on that path right now. He is, and so are the Chiefs. And there's nothing better than a three-peat. Oh, there is. It's a four-peat, but
And then a
it is
5-peat, and then a
it
6-peat. Yeah.
is a great feeling.
And it's never been done in the Super Bowl era.
Nope. Nope. I mean, we've seen it before. The Cowboys won 3 and 4 years. The Patriots won 3 and 4 years, but we've never seen a three-peat. Like, we don't even see three-peats that much anymore. I mean, lately the closest we've seen, you know, when it comes to a three-peat, just in sports in general, was the Tampa Bay Lightning when we won 2 straight cups, and then we went to a third cup in a row, but then we lost to the Avalanche. But it just, and then even the Warriors, like even the Warriors dynasty with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, even those guys haven't three-peated.
I would say that the closest that we've had, and we're starting to spiral, but I'll make it real quick. The closest that we've had has been the Astros in baseball. They went to the World Series 3 straight years. Sure, they only won one of them, but they still made it to the championship deciding series 3 straight years.
Yeah.
Nobody's really done that.
Well, I
What?
mean, the lightning did, to David's point as well. I mean, and that was just recent too. So
Yeah.
yeah, for the Lightning to be able to do that, and they won 2 in a row and then lost the
Yeah.
third in a row. But the Astros as well. I mean, that is a tough
Wait,
feat
what?
to
What?
even
What
fulfill.
years were they? I don't think the Astros ever, like, the Astros have made like 25 straight ALCSs at this point, but they made. I don't think they made 3 straight World Series appearances. Obviously, 17 because they won it all. 18, the Red Sox won the AL that year, and then 19 was the Astros again.
I
So maybe
don't
that's
count
what I'm
COVID.
thinking of.
I don't count COVID. So
Okay, all right, fair enough.
19, 21, 22.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a fair point, Ed. Like you back up what you say, and I respect that.
Hey! No, he doesn't. I was raining on the Dodgers in their COVID World Series, and Ed said no. So
Yeah,
I don't want
and
to
hey,
hear it.
and my team, the Rays, we went to the World Series the COVID year. So, you know, and listen, also as a fan of a team that won back-to-back titles in COVID seasons, I can't really talk crap about teams winning in COVID years because my team did the exact same thing. So,
It's all good. It's all good. But yes, the NFL free agency is crazy, and it continues to be crazy, and we're going to continue to cover it because that is some of the biggest news that's happening right now. And well, you know, like the famous philosopher once said, Ron Burgundy, why do we have to give them the news that they need to hear? Why don't we just give them the news they want to hear? And that's pretty much what we strive to do here is we want to give you the news that we feel like you want to hear, because as sports fans, we want to hear that too. I want to know what's going on. I want, as odd as this sounds, I want to know where Drew Lock's going. I know he's not going to start, but guess what? I still want to know that. I want to know all these things as much as I can. And if you are a sports fan like me, you want to know that too. So that's why we're here giving you that stuff, and we're going to continue to give you that news. And if there's more that you're really wanting, that you desire, drop it in the comments section. Tell us what else you want us to cover, and we're going to cover it. I don't care if it's cricket in India. We will find a way to cover it because, well, you guys want that. It's just that's what we strive to do. We aim to do that, and we love sports. So that's pretty much what we're about. So drop in the comments what more you'd like us to cover, and drop what free agencies you expect that you're going to predict are going to go, where they're going to go elsewhere. We still got some top guys out there. So just drop in the comments where you think they're going to go, and continue to hit that like and subscribe button and share these videos as well. But that is about all we have today, folks. And we are rounding third, and we are headed for home.